Hey everybody, Rad and Fans here. Before we start this video, I just want to let you guys know it is very long. Okay, I tried to edit it down as much as I can and put nothing but information in there. I try my best to be very descriptive because some people like descriptive videos, some people dislike A to B. So I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try to put clickable links to each part in the video where I'm doing different categories. For example, the fuel pump, the wiring, the fuel lines and stuff like that. I'm going to try to put clickable links, so if you guys are doing this build yourself, you can only go to the part that you need to know the information about. If not, you can just watch the whole video. It's a very good video. I took a lot of time to make it, and I just want to let you guys know, if you're using this video, please give me a like and subscribe, or let me know in the comments section how I did, or hit me up on Instagram. I'm Rad and Fans if you have any questions, or just let me know if I made a kick-ass video or what I need to improve on. Anyways, enjoy the video, guys. I'll catch you later. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Rad and Fans from Slightly Modified. Today we're going to be putting this 2JZ in our S13. So I decided to kind of put together a full swap guide so you can put a JZ in an S chassis. Mine might be a little bit different. My car's right-hand drive and I'm kind of cheap, so I'm doing everything the cheapest way possible. But this will fully explain what you need to do to get this motor in a 180SX or a 240SX S13. So let me show you what I got here. Okay, so this is my 2JZ GTE VVTi that I had to convert to single turbo. Check out my last video. My car is right-hand drive, so the OEM twin turbos did not fit. So I went out, just bought the cheapest stuff I could find. I bought an oil line kit. I bought a turbo manifold, a log manifold. That was $100. I bought this GT3582R used for $400. And then this oil kit I got for $30. I had to order a few extra fittings, so let's just say 50 bucks. I got this tile 44mm wastegate. You never want to cheap out on these things. If you get a cheap one and it doesn't work, you're gonna blow your motor up. Yeah, I think I have an 8-pound spring in here, and we'll get to why in a minute. And then I have my vacuum line running up here, running across the top of the head into my intake manifold to control my boost. A few more things about this motor before I made the transmission and the clutch to it. There's a few things that I also did. Here is the engine harness. The engine harness used to come out of this hole right here, so that would make you have to put your ECU in the engine bay like pretty much all 2JZs do. Here, let me show you on my Lexus. So normally most JZs, newer 1Js and 2Js, they have an ECU box in the engine bay, which looks terrible. It kind of sucks because, you know, it takes up room, and I want to put my intercooler piping there and stuff. So we did something a little bit different on this 2J. We kind of took the harness out of this hole. We cut a hole on the side of this plastic, I don't know what you call it, plastic runway here. And then I kind of redid, there's a bunch of like 90-degree bends in this. And then I put some split loom on it. I got everything straight. So what I plan to do, and it looks like it's long enough, is take this, shove it through the firewall, and put the ECU inside of the car. So that's a plan that I'm going to do with this. Then these are like all the automatic trans wires. Probably just we're gonna shove those in the car, coil them up in a corner and not touch them. These are the wires for the twin turbo stuff that we're not going to use, so we're gonna have to stuff those somewhere. What else? Here's my MAF wires. So we are going single turbo and we're still going to run a MAF. I'll show you how I'm going to do that in a little bit. And then this is the O2 sensor wire. This turbo is also water fed, so we're going to feed water to it. Let's see what else. I did bypass the heater core, so this would go to the heater core and then this would go to the heater core. Just kind of looped it. It looks kind of ugly, but oh well. There's a ground on this head that was cut, so I went ahead and put a little connector on it. So we're going to ground the head to the chassis. And then down here, I don't have a ground on here yet, but this is the ground line to ground the block to the chassis as well. That way we have strong ground on the engine and we're not going to have to worry about that. And what we have here, this is my W58 transmission out of a 1994 Toyota Supra. The only reason why I have this transmission is because it was cheap. So hence the reason why I have an 8-pound spring in my 2JZ. The reason why I got the MK4 trans is because it is a little bit stronger than the MK3 W58. We are going to slap this on the motor, but before we do that, we're going to put the clutch on. We have a used clutch. Man, I'm cheap. We have a used clutch that we're going to put on the motor, but it's in really good condition. But I wanted to show you, when I bought this, I did a few things to it. I got a new slave cylinder, I got a new throwout bearing, and I got a new pilot bearing. So the pilot bearing we're going to have to put in the back of the crankshaft so we can put this transmission on. But these are really important. Whenever you have these out, I'm going to take the throwout bearing and replace it. I already have it greased up. This thing is ready to go on the motor. And here are my parts. If you guys want to know, this is my pilot bearing. Got it from AutoZone. So the part number is right here. And this was my throwout bearing. Got this from AutoZone as well. This is all for 1994 Toyota Supra. If you have the older MK3 one, you're going to want to find out the year from the car those came on and do that. And then this I got from Amazon, and this is the slave cylinder. So that about does it for the transmission. Transmission is ready to go on. I have this shifter fork off because we need to get it under the car. Also, I have just a generic clutch line that someone just gave me. It's a little long, but we're going to throw it on anyways. I still have to bolt the steering rack up. I'll do that real quick. So that's the motor, that's the trans. And then here's the clutch. I got this clutch for real cheap. This is a comp flywheel 4W58 2JZ. And then over here, I should probably pull this out. Over here is, so it's an ACT clutch. And I guess it only has, I don't know, a couple thousand miles on it. The guy got it from, that I got this motor off of. This motor also came off an MK4 Supra, so I know the clutch is going to go on there perfect. So that's what I got. Now we're going to take this motor, we're going to put it on the hoist, take it off the stand. We're going to bolt the clutch to it. I have my hardware right here, ARP. So I know you're not really supposed to reuse these, but I'm going to reuse them anyways. So now we're going to cut to the time lapse. We're going to throw the trans on. Okay, we got the flywheel on, we got the pressure plate on, we got the pilot bearing on, and we have our alignment tool here so we don't have problems when we're mating our trans to our motor. So now we can pull that out, perfectly centered with the pilot bearing now. So now we can push the trans onto the motor, bolt it up, throw the starter on. Thanks for coming, Chris. Chris is going to help me put the fuel lines on. Actually, I think he's going to do it for me.
Probably. I always end up doing it.
Yeah, we got Kuya Gucci here. Thank you for coming, bro. Where is everybody else? Oh, wait, nobody else is here. Thanks for coming, Chris.
Of course.
So we're going to try to actually get this fuel lines in. While he's working on that, I'm going to hit the rack. Yeah, we're going to get to work, and hopefully, before it gets dark, we'll put the motor in the car. I don't know if you guys have looked at ChaseBay's website, but they do have an S13 2JZ fuel line relocation kit. I did not buy that. I actually went on Amazon. I bought everything that I needed to mimic their kit. Sorry, ChaseBay's. It was a little too expensive. So I got Dash 6 heat resistant line. This is AN line. I got 20 feet. I think it was about, I don't know, 30 something on Amazon. And then I noticed ChaseBay uses like these finisher lines to the point where it makes it look like an AN line. If you look at it like this, it looks like an AN line, but it's not. It's just a hose clamp. So yeah, what we're gonna do, we're gonna slap the hose clamp on there, hose clamp it, and then we're gonna run it all the way over firewall. So on this motor, we're gonna use the OEM fuel pressure regulator. I haven't ever had a problem with it on my IS300. So we're gonna stay OEM on that, and then OEM injectors, OEM everything. So while Chris is in there pulling the fuel lines apart, we're going to use the same filter. What we're going to do is we're just going to take the new lines and we're going to kind of wrap them, follow the brake lines over the top of the firewall, and then we're going to go to the left side. That's the easiest way to do it. Okay, so now we're going to go over engine mounts and brackets. So this kit right here that I have is called the Tech 2 JZ Swap Kit. So it comes with a modified S13 Crossmember, and It comes with modified motor mount brackets, and then as you can see, I have excessive motor mounts on there, so they all work together. These help us sit a little bit lower. The only problem is the oil pan does sit below the Crossmember with those motor mounts in there, so we're gonna pray for that. But other than that, this is a Tech 2 mount kit. I think these kits go for about $1,400 on eBay, but I got it off a friend. Shout out Brandon, thanks again. There are alternatives. You can buy the excessive kit. The excessive kit allows you to use your stock S13 Crossmember, and you can buy their kit and their motor mounts, and I think you can do it for a little around 600 bucks if you buy their transmission Crossmember 2. I think it's like 300 bucks for the mounts. Do you remember how much you paid for yours?
I think the like mounts, I use GK Tech, so those are like 100 bucks or something. And the actual arms that go from the block to the mounts, I can do like 100 bucks or like just 100. And same thing with the Crossmember for the tranny and the bushing.
Dang, so that's like less than 400 bucks.
Yeah, it's super cheap.
So you can go with whatever kit you want. I know this Tech 2 kit comes with the Crossmember, it comes with the mounts, it comes with the transmission mount, and it even comes with the drive shaft for an R154. It's R154 specific kit. So since I have a W58, I do have the excessive Crossmember. So we're gonna put the transmission under the car and see how the Crossmember lines up with the Tech 2 kit. But until then, we're gonna start working on these fuel lines. Wow, we got way too excited. I've never had someone help me so much. Chris is on one. He already finished the fuel lines and the fuel pump. Okay, so what's going on now, Chris?
So, we got nothing else to do pretty much that he can't do by himself. So while I'm here, we're gonna go ahead and get the motor into there. Hopefully it doesn't fall. Hopefully we don't dent that or that too much. But we're gonna get it in.
I'm gonna put this camera down. The motor's in, the fuel lines are ran. Chris killed it on the fuel pump and the fuel system, and he helped me put the motor in today. Thank you.
Of course, gotta get this thing done already.
You know, Chris is actually coming over here tonight instead of working on his own car, so thanks for that.
Of course, technically I could have drove my car tonight.
Technically, but you sacrificed your time for me.
Finish this thing.
That's very sweet of you. Well, anyways, go check out his channel. It's Kuyaguchi.
Right here.
Pretty much a lot of things that I did to this car, he did to his car, but he did it better. I'm just doing things to get this car running, but he did it the first time the right way. So go check out his channel. It's Kuyaguchi. Same thing on Instagram. Thanks a lot, Chris. We're gonna get back to this tomorrow. We're gonna wire it. Hopefully, the goal today is to get this thing to pop. I gotta do a little bit of wiring. Just the ECU shouldn't take too long. But I'm also gonna show you all the wires you need to give power to run this engine on a switch panel. I don't know if you guys watch my videos. I recently just I simplified my OEM harness, and I got rid of everything that controls like engine ECU and stuff like that. I just kept the bare minimum, you know, the headlights, the taillights, the turn signals, stuff like that. I kept all that. But so now we're gonna wire this to a switch panel. I'll show you that in a second. And basically there's only a few wires you need to wire. Some need switch power, some need battery power, and then you got to wire the starter, and then the coil packs and the injectors, you have to wire those. This is a 2JZ, but I believe the 1JZ might be close to exactly the same. So I was looking at the wire diagram, it looks really similar. So yeah, starter, ignition, coil packs, and injectors, and then you can fire this motor up. Since this is a drive-by-wire motor, you have to find the wire that controls the power throttle body. Because if you guys see, when you turn this, the blade doesn't open at all unless you turn it all the way, and it opens at like 10%. So yeah, so this is an electronic throttle body, ETCSI. If it wasn't, it would say ETCS. But since this is a electronic drive-by-wire motor, it still does work with the throttle pedal. The throttle pulls it, but this turns the motor, and the motor's what tells the computer how much throttle you're giving it. Okay, so yesterday when Chris was wiring my fuel pump, he said, hey man, you got a decent amount of fuel in your tank. So I was like, well, don't really want to start the motor with that nasty fuel, so we're just going to use the fuel pump to pump it out. Okay, now we got all the bad fuel drained out, we're going to attach these fuel lines. So the shorter one, I remember, is the supply, and the longer one is the return. So you guys saw Chris routed these yesterday. Big shout out to him, thanks for helping out. We are going to get the right length for the supply. We're going to cut it, and then you can't really see it, but on the motor there's a stock fuel damper there. We're going to keep it. It has a banjo on it to the OEM cut fuel line. What we're going to do is we're going to cut the fuel line off of the banjo, and then we're going to cut the fuel line, this fuel line, the new one, to size, and then we're just going to hose clamp it to the banjo. That's going to be good for now. We're not going to be running a ton of power, and there's really not a ton of pressure on this line. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hose clamp it to the banjo, put the banjo back on, and that's good for our feed. Now for our return, let me get this power steering reservoir out of the way. For our return, it's right here. You could tell it's just hose clamped to a cut line. So we are going to get rid of this cut line. We are going to cut our return line to size, and then we're going to attach our return line to there. Okay, here's our OEM fuel line. You can see they just cut it out of the car, they took the motor out of, whatever. And we are going to use this banjo because we're cheap, and we're going to cut it right there. Okay guys, so we got our return line cut, and then we have our cute little finish clamp on there. Looks like this. We just cut our supply line, and now we have our cut banjo line here. Like I said, don't judge. And then we're gonna just go like this, bloop. We're gonna put the finisher on there. Maybe we'll put an extra one right next to it for security, and then we'll check for leaks, don't worry about that. And then we'll bolt that back up. And then also guys, since I bought 20 foot of this AN, I had some extra left over, so you know what I did? I just went ahead and ran that along top of the firewall to the brake booster. So here's my switch panel. I got it from a friend, I got it from RJ, thanks bro, always helping out. But this switch panel is very, very simple. We have all these relays, and then we have all the switches right here, and then I did install my starter button. So it's a push to start, momentary, and then these are on off. So this is the way I plugged it in, because whoever made this switch panel, I believe it was Jason Kim back in the day, made everything color coordinated. So this switch has a pink wire, this one has a red wire, this one has a yellow wire, this one has a green wire. So if you look right here, pink wire, and then he wrote on there in Sharpie, it just says ECU ignition. And then let's see, here's the red wire, fuel, so we know it's fuel pump. Here's the green wire, headlights. Here's the yellow wire, fans. So basically, these little switches give small amounts of power to the relay, which allows it to give whatever you're trying to power more power. So here is my yellow switch right here. You see how there's two wires, and then it loops over and it goes to this one. So when you flip this switch right here, yellow, it's going to give power to these two relays, and it's going to send power, these big thick yellow wires, all the way out, and then all the way to your fans. See, here's the plug right here. So that's basically how that works. So what we're going to do here is, if you can see, these three are daisy chained. So here's the pink wire, right? Turn on the pink switch. It's going to give power to this side of the relay, and then you see there's a jumper, goes over here, it gives power to this side of the relay, and then there's another jumper, it gives power to this relay. So that's basically saying dash, coils, and ignition all get power. These three relays get power from this one switch. So if you hit that, boom, three relays come on, your dash comes on, your ECU comes on, your coils and your injectors now have power. And then you can hit your start button. Press your start button, you see here, it goes to the orange wire right here, and then the orange wire comes all the way through the switch panel, goes right here to this plug. Then this plug, the other side of the plug, we're going to wire it directly to the starter. That's just a quick guide on how a switch panel works. So remember I told you the big battery power that goes directly to your starter. Here's main battery power coming out of this orange. And then don't worry about this red, I'm gonna take that and switch it over here. But this was just for testing purposes. This will power my key ignition. It'll power that, and then you can turn the key and then everything will work like normal, the radio and all that stuff. And then this does the starter. And then all of these little ones power all of these relays. And then before it goes to whatever it goes to, for example the fuel pump or something like that, it goes through a fuse, just in case, for example, a power wire comes disconnected, it touches the car, touches the ground, it will have to go through the fuse before it can mess up anything over here. Hopefully I explained that well enough. I'm gonna wire everything up real quick, and then I'm gonna show you pretty much how I did it and how easy it is. Okay guys, and now the wiring. I'm going to try to explain this the best I can. I have my camera just faced over my computer. So this right here is the best website for any JZ or Toyota important ECU pinouts. So this website is called wilbo666.pbworks.com. Okay, I don't own this. This guy does. I'm just using this as informational purposes only. So if you're on this website, please don't come after me. I'm going to show you exactly what you need to wire this ECU to a switch panel to get it in running driving condition, because running and driving is the difference between like 4 or 5 important wires. So we're going to start off with the easy ones. So right here it says this is a JZX161. We have plugs B1, B2, B3, and then F59, F60. So if you notice, if you get your motor, your wiring harness is going to be plugged into the ECU. These 3 plugs are going to be directly plugged into the ECU, and then these 2 plugs are going to be plugged in, but they're going to be cut. All the wires are cut. So I want to let you guys know, plug B1 and B2 control the motor. So that goes to every single sensor on the motor, and that plugs into the ECU. Plug B3 is basically mainly, I would say 95% of it is the automatic transmission plug. I am not going to be using this plug. I'm going to leave it plugged in, but that's just for your information. So these 3 just leave plugged in, and then these 2 are the ones that you're going to be wiring. So this plug, I didn't wire anything on this plug yet, because the only important thing that I am going to use on there is going to be the tack wire. That's in the bottom right corner. And then this plug, this is the main plug that you're going to use to power your ECU and your electronic throttle body. So I'm just letting you guys know, remember these plugs, F59 and F60. So right here says plug and pin. So it'll say, for example, B1, pin 1, symbol 30. So here's B1, pin 1, symbol 30. It tells you it's the number 3 injector. So that's the plug that goes to the number 3 injector. But we're going to scroll all the way down to F59 and F60. So like I said, on plug F59, we're not going to use anything, but I'm not going to leave it plugged in because I'm not using it right now. But later on, I'm going to wire the tachometer, because I do have a Lexus dash in my 180SX, so I'm going to get the whole cluster working. So here it is, that's F59, pin 20, tachometer. So that way I'm going to wire that, but we're not going to worry about that. I'm just going to worry about getting the motor running right now. We're going to go down to plug F60. Here we are, right here, plug F60. So we are going to be looking at a few important pins. Here's pin 1, battery power. So this needs 12 volts, so we're just going to take note of that. Pin 1. We're going to go down. Pin 7, BM, ETCSI power. So that is your throttle body power. That is going to need 12 volts, so that's pin 7. And then right here we have plus B2, EFI, main relay switch power. That is going to need 12 volts power. So 1, 7, and 8, and then here's 9, ignition switch, we need to put power to that. So 1, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. EFI main relay trigger. So that's pin 1, 7, 8, 9, and 10. They're all going to need 12 volts. So we're going to keep on growing, keep scrolling through this, nothing, nothing, nothing. 16, plus B, switched battery power. This pin is used to supply switched battery power to the ECU. 16 needs 12 volt power. Okay, and that's it. So basically, we're gonna go back all the way up to the top and I'm gonna show you those pins. There's pin number 1, battery power. So we're gonna need 12 volt power on that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, BM, ETCSI power. So we're definitely gonna need power to that. And then 8, 9, and 10. So 8's gonna need power, 9's gonna need power, and 10's gonna need power. And then here's plug 16 plus B, that's gonna need power. So we're gonna, on this plug, we're going to power these wires. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to need to power all of those wires. So now we are done with the ECU. Now we are going to go to those other random plugs that come on your harness that you're probably wondering what the hell they are. So these are the main plugs that go into ECU, and then so these are the 2JZ, GTE, VVTi engine loom to body loom pinouts. So there's a few plugs in here that you are gonna need to put power to. This plug you won't need to. So we're not gonna use that plug. We're gonna go down this plug right here. This plug is very, very important. These are the pins we're going to be focusing on this plug. We're going to be focusing on pins 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly what these are. So here is pin number 6. Okay, look what it says here. So this is the BF2 plug. That's just what they call it. Pin 6, power to coils and igniter. Okay, so if you have no spark, you might want to check this pin out. So that will power your igniter and your coils. And then pin number 7 is going to power your fuel injectors. So you need to make sure that you have this to power to. And then pin number 8, very important, starter motor relay. So this right here, when you hit your starter button, it's going to engage your starter solenoid. And when you engage your starter solenoid, it shoves it out into your flywheel, and that engages the actual starter to start your car. So that's very important. And then pin 9, guys, this is where I also had a hard time. Pin 9 is actually powers your MAF, okay? So if you start up your car and it's just pig rich 10s all the time, make sure that your MAF has power. This pin needs to have 12 volt power. So that's gonna be that plug. And then there's one more plug with another important thing. I had to figure this out the hard way too. My car was not charging, and I eventually figured it out that it is this plug right here. So just make sure, look at your plugs. Here's the clip, and then there's going to be 2 pins on this side and 1 pin on that side. You're going to go down to pin number 9, ignition switch power. That also needs to have power, because I found out this wire is actually what gives power to the voltage regulator on your alternator. So if this doesn't have power, your alternator is not going to charge your car. So you need to make sure pin number 9, this pin right here, make sure that has power. Okay guys, and here is up close and personal the fabulous harness that I built to run my motor. As you guys notice, all the wires that are twisted up, I just left them there. I put a little heat shrink on the ends of them. In the future, I might want to wire something else up, or so I don't want to depin anything just yet. But so I am just going to go over everything that I just said. I'm going to go over real quick on this, just so you guys can get a better idea. So I want to let you guys know, when you're looking at the plug on the computer, this is the way you're looking. I have this plug that plugs into my switch panel. It's a 3-pin plug. One of these does my starter, okay? So this is the starter wire, so that goes to my starter button. And these two are the 2 relays. Remember I told you there was 3 relays that come on with my ignition switch? It's this one, and then the dash relay. So these are the 2 relays. I just took the load from all these power wires. I broke them up basically in half. So I'll let you know what's going on right here. So on one relay, I have pin, this is the plug that goes into the ECU. I have pin 1, pin 8, 9, 10, 16, and the injectors. I have all on one relay. And then on another relay, I have, let's see, another relay I have the throttle body power, the coil packs power, the MAF power, and the alternator regulator power is all on another relay. So I just basically took them up, broke them up into 2 relays. The car runs good. There's no power issues. I've already driven the hell out of it. It boosts great. So this is why I am sharing this. This is my final draft of the wiring. Okay guys, real quick, just about to tighten the last spark plug. I just want to let you guys know, be very careful when you tighten spark plugs. What I do is take an extendo socket and I tighten it all the way by hand until I can't turn anymore. And that's when you hit the crush washer. There's a crush washer, so after you hit the crush washer, you can feel it crush. Feel it crush, and then it starts getting a little bit tighter, okay? Don't grab the end of the wrench. You don't need to torque these things. Grab the front of the wrench like this. You give it kind of like a little, don't crank it, because I messed up. I don't know how, but I stripped cylinder number 6 on my 1JZ on my Lexus. That's why I don't drive it that much, because it is stripped. I'm afraid to get on the boost because I don't want to blow the plug right out of the hole. Don't need to crank those. I learned my lesson big time. Got the cheapest 530 I could find. I'm just going to dump this in, and hopefully it runs. And if it runs good, we'll let it run. This is going to be the first startup oil, so it's only probably going to have less than 10 minutes of idle time on it, and then we're going to change it out. So there's no point in getting baller oil and a nice filter and stuff like that. I do that the second time around. So let's dump this in. I believe this thing takes like 5.4 quarts, so I have 5 and an extra quart right there. So I'm just going to dump in 5 and then see where we're at after the first crank. Getting a little late. Looks like we're not going to be able to do the first start today, but one of the things that I do like to do to motors that haven't been started in a while or first start is you take the oil feed off the turbo, shove it in a water bottle, and you spin the starter. Don't, if your motor's wired, don't turn on your ignition or anything like that. Just spin the starter and wait until oil comes out of that line. That way, A, you know you have oil pressure to your turbo, you're not gonna mess up your turbo, and B, you know you have oil pressure from your motor. So you know the oil pump is working. So I'm gonna spin that over for a little bit, and then I'll show you guys when the oil starts coming out. Okay, so you saw oil coming out of the feed line. That way you know you're ready to crank, you have oil pressure, you have oil to your turbo. Jesus Christ. Always out here ruining the vlogs. Hey, that's kind of tight though. Weird flex, but okay. When you guys do your power steering, this JDM S13, I'm pretty sure USDM ones are the same way. The banjo that goes to the Toyota power steering pump on my 2JZ is exactly the same. So if you already have your power steering rack and stuff like that, you're good to go. Plus these hard lines, a right-hand drive, are kind of hard to come by. So luckily we got that, and then we have them all hooked up to the bottom of the rack. I just went to O'Reilly's and I grabbed this power steering line. It's kind of expensive, but be sure you get power steering line, because I use heater hose on my Lexus and it gets really soft and it sweats the fluid and it just looks nasty and it starts dripping everywhere. So this was kind of a pretty penny, but I bought some extra, so I'm gonna do the Lexus too. And then I'm just using the OEM reservoir that I gotta figure out how to bolt down. You don't really want to run these pumps dry. So what I did is I had already bled my whole power steering system with the engine off. I did it with a drill. So if you're standing in front of the motor spins clockwise. So what you want to do is just basically righty-tighty on your little drill here and just spin it away. So I mean, I guess you want to start with the steering rack straight. Make sure your inner tie rods are in, because those are what stop the rack from overextending. So I have it centered, and then what I had done was I just filled it till I couldn't anymore, and then you take the drill and you just slowly spin the pump like that, and you look at it. You'll notice it'll start sucking in the fluid and it'll start burping the air out of the little line. So since I've already done this, you can still see some air coming out. You can start feeling the resistance too once it starts sucking in the fluid. And then just make sure don't suck it dry, just keep adding fluid. And then right when you get it to where the bubbles kind of go away, then you turn your steering wheel to the left, do it, and then you turn your steering wheel to the right, and that basically bleeds most of the system. So now we're spinning the pump at pretty good speed now. So we got just about no more air coming out of our reservoir. We have it about 3/4 full. So we're just gonna go ahead and throw the cap on that for now, not worry about that. Now we can put the belt back on now that we bled our power steering pump. So now we're just worried about the fluids. So we got the oil in here, got the power steering fluid in here, we got the gas lines hooked up. We already know we have oil pressure. There's a few vacuum things that I capped off. One was right under here, under the throttle body. And then I have this one right here I'm gonna use for my boost gauge, but I'm just probably gonna cap it for now, just for the first fire. This throttle cable is from a dual cam 240SX. So the length is pretty good for my right-hand drive car, but I hear that the single cam is good for the left-hand drive. So of course I gotta make a bracket because the 2J one's kinda, but that's no big deal. I'm just glad I got the decent length throttle cable. And one more thing, we need to connect the alternator. So right here we have, this is the power for the car. I know it's kind of sloppy, guys. This is the power for the car that powers up the main harness on the car. This comes out of the back of my circuit protector. So we have these two together. So this will power the car, and then we're just gonna connect it to there. So I noticed right here, it looks like here's an old engine ground for the 180SX. It's actually bolted to the old battery box. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna unbolt that, and then we're gonna take this, we're gonna bolt it to the alternator, and then we'll just take that, and then we'll put it right here on this bolt with these two right here. So that way our alternator will be good, and then we can check for charging once the car fires up. That much closer, guys, that much closer. Okay guys, I got everything ironed out. Just enough ready for the first start. So I don't have any trans fluid in there, so I'm just gonna start it for a second, maybe two. And if it runs, I'll shut her down. I did it. That was on its own fuel system. Okay guys, first startup was successful. I only bumped it for a second. Looks like we got a big fuel leak here, but it's just coming from the clamps, it looks like, right before and after the filter. So we need to see if we can tighten those up. So as you guys know, filling transmissions suck. So usually you see those people, you know, they grab the little bottle with the pump on top and they're pumping it in. Well, I got a little creative, and I just cut a nice little flap in the carpet right here, and I drilled a hole straight through the transmission tunnel. So now I can put my feed right through here into the fill, and I can fill it from inside the car, and I don't have to use a pump or anything like that because we got good old friend gravity by our side. But I'm just gonna keep squirting it in there and just letting it slowly make its way in the transmission. So it looks like we're good to go. The exhaust is still gonna be shooting on the brake booster and clutch master, so I'm not gonna rev it, but I'm gonna fire it up for maybe 10 seconds this time instead of 1. So let's see how well it does. Okay, I do see a leak. It's coming out of the back oil plug for the rear turbo that we plugged up. I may have hand tightened that, so let's snug that up. So that was the second official startup, but we let it run for, I don't know, maybe 10-15 seconds. I got excited and I started revving it, but we have no math in here. We have nothing, no O2 sensors, so it's probably running like crap. Guys, she runs. Hey. So I got these 3 gauges. So what we're gonna do before we put all the wiring and stuff back, we're gonna wire up these gauges. These gauges are simple. They're only power ground, unless you know you're wiring them to a standalone or stuff like that. Then you can wire them to a standalone. But there's a bunch of wires here. But all you're really gonna need is 2 of them. And then the other wires connect to your sensor, and then the other wires connect to your standalone ECU. So let me show you what we got. This is the water temp. So we're gonna unravel this and we're gonna bring it all the way up to the water neck. And this one is the boost, electronic boost gauge. So they do give you a sensor right here that converts vacuum into electronic signal. So got that, and then we need to run this up to our intake manifold because that's where we're going to get our reference from. Then there's this air fuel gauge. So like I said, you just plug this into the back of the gauge, you run that over to your downpipe because you're going to be threading that into your downpipe. So we have those 3 gauges. Oh yeah, and then it comes with this sensor, which is very expensive. It's like $50. I know that because the one on my Lexus went bad and I had to buy another one. On my downpipe and my IS300, I have the same setup. I have 2 sensors. One is a wideband, one is an O2, and luckily I found out the O2 is the exact same sensor as an IS300 stock O2 sensor, the ones that thread into the OEM manifold with the cats in it. So find yourself one of those are thread-ins, it'll plug right in. Good, done there. And on my 2J, here's my MAF plug, here's my O2 sensor plug. So we're just going to find an O2 sensor that we can plug in here from a Lexus. My friend said he has one, a used one, so we'll just throw that on there, hopefully it works. And then right here, as you guys can see, I had already threaded the temperature sensor into the water neck. So we are good there. All we have to do is put the plug in there, plug it in, and then here is our boost reference right here. So I already have a vacuum line that should take us inside of the car. So we're going to be using that hole right there. You can see we have our starter wire coming out of there going down to our starter. So we're going to use that hole to get all of our wires into the car, plug them into the back of the gauges. As for the switch panel, the cool thing about this is it already has power for a dashboard. Every time you turn on the ignition switch, which is my first switch that powers the ECU and everything like that, well, you turn on that one switch, it powers these 3 relays. So one of them is going to be our ECU power and our injector power, and then this one was our coil power and our throttle body power, and then this one right here says dash. So if you look at the color wire, it's purple. So let's go find the purple wire. So I did bullet connectors for 2 things. So the main power wire coming off of the relay for the dash, and then of course here I just took all 3 of the red wires from all 3 gauges and I put them to one bullet connector. These are really cool because after you crimp it, it has a built-in heat shrink on it, so all you gotta do is heat it up and it's fine after that. So we have all 3 powers together, so all I gotta do is plug that in to get our power. And then I took all 3 ground wires, soldered them to one wire, one long black wire. So I'm going to figure out where I'm going to ground that. I'll probably put a little eye on the end, so that way I could just screw it somewhere right into the dash bar that's all rusty, that one. I was thinking, since this is a drift car and we barely ever use the glove box for anything, I was thinking maybe we can make this look a little bit nicer and we can put it in the glove box. That way if we ever have a problem, we can just open up the glove box and try to figure it out. Okay guys, a lot has happened since we last got the motor in. I was waiting to do the radiator, but my friend had to come over. He was like, bro, I know how to do it, like I can do it for you. He's like, man, go ahead, send it. So I just let him do it. Didn't really film all day, but I'll show you exactly what he did. So I don't know about the other kits like the excessive manufacturing kit, but the Tech 2 kit seems like it sits a little far forward. There's a little gap behind the firewall. I would say there's like an inch gap between the back of the motor and the firewall, which kind of sucks because my drive shaft ended up being a tiny bit too short, but I'm going to run it anyways. It looks like the Crossmember is still going to work, so we're not going to have a problem with that. But it was really hard to get this radiator in here. So here, let me turn on my music so I don't get copyrighted. When you guys are putting an aluminum radiator, any type of like thicker radiator, you're gonna have a hard time, especially getting some decent fans. So I just found this radiator and these fans used. This is a Mishimoto radiator with a Mishimoto fan shroud and Mishimoto fans. So we had to cut a lot to get this to fit. Of course we had to cut the core support. As you guys see right here, we just took the radiator and we kind of just cut it all the way as far as we could to the corner right here on both sides. So just stick your radiator in there and cut that. But then that wasn't enough, so we tried leaning the radiator forward, still wasn't enough. So what we had to do is kind of sketchy, but we also had to cut into the lower cross member, and I'm talking we had to cut a good amount off. So if you guys see right here, there's these little brackets, and then there's this piece of metal. It's like normally 3 times longer than that, but I would say now it's like the width of my finger. So we had to cut all that out And then there's bolts for the tension rod bracket. There's 2 bolts there. Those bolts were too high and the radiator was staying too high. So we cut the bolts down to the top of the nut. There's like a welded nut in there. Cut the bolts down. And then what I did is, well, what my buddy Chris did is he took I don't know, like a 1 or 2 inch hose, cut it in half, not in half, only on one side, made it flat. He put it on top of there, and that's what the radiator sits on. He also drilled new holes here, so the radiator is firmly mounted. The only thing, guys, is taking out a lot of structure down there. So I'm going to do it eventually, but I just want to drive my car, so I'm putting it together. I would box it, because behind here, it's all open now. So I would box it. I'm gonna go back and box it probably, I don't know, a couple months. There's a lot gone. So the radiator is pretty much sitting inside the lower crossmember. So I know there is a guy who sells a kit for this. His name is Chair Slayer. He does sell a kit for this. I believe it's bolt-on, but you can also weld it. The lower crossmember kit. So it's easy to pull your motor and stuff like that. Maybe I'll eventually get it. Just kind of, I'm gonna see how the car drives. See how much structurally I messed it up. Hopefully I didn't. Also, we ended up cutting these fender wells out. And if you guys, like, I know this isn't really part of a Jay-Z video, but 240SX, my car is really low. So my buddy Chris cut it out too. He left a lot of the side here, and he left a lot of the bottom, as you guys can see, but he completely cut it off right above the frame rails. And surprisingly, I still got a lot of strength up here. Regardless if you get in an accident, it's going to crumble, whether the fender wells are there or not. Now, we can easily do caster adjustments, and we can easily do alignments, and we can easily lower our car, and we don't even got to take the wheel off, so that's positive. But anyways, let's get back to the motor. We do have our single cam KA Nissan throttle cable, but as you could tell, we need to make a bracket, because this is where it mounts, and this is where it's at. So I'm going to make a bracket using some decently thick metal, and we'll just move it forward. It looks like maybe a little over 2 inches, so that way we can use our throttle cable. It took me a while, but I finally got the AN line. So this is AN8 AN line. So I just got like 5 feet of that, and that's how I routed my water lines for my turbo. Also got these bolts. They did end up working. I don't know if you guys watched my last video. Did end up working. Oh, I gotta scoot that over a little bit. It's touching the hot side. So I did try to get it all routed nicely as I can. Here's the oil return, and then here is the water supply, water return, stuff like that. And then here's the oil supply right into the side of the block. So kind of looks like an AN mess back there, but now we are finally sealed in the coolant system. We have our heater bypass right there, so we're good back there. Now all we need to do, fill the radiator, and we need to bleed this coolant system. So here's the deal. I'm trying to fire up the car and bleed the coolant, but I don't want to blow exhaust fumes all over my firewall. So I did buy an exhaust originally for this car, and it was this one right here. This exhaust is actually for an i300 Altezza, as it states in the post. So I was like, fuck it, I'll try to put this on the car. If it doesn't work, I'll put it on my i300, and then I'll take the exhaust off my i300, and then I'll put it on the 180. Well, that didn't really work out. So we're gonna take this thing and we're gonna sacrifice it. We're gonna cut it up. We're just gonna cut it up and flip a hood dump for now. Call it a day. Okay guys, coolant looks just about bled. I don't see any more water bubbles. It's at a steady level. Thermostat is open, hot. I got the fans on just to see if she's gonna cool down. Everything's running good, idling like a dream. I think we're gonna shut her down because she's been idling for almost, I don't know, 25 minutes. The neighbors are probably pissed because I keep revving it, but it sounds good and I'm excited. Ow! I'm still waiting on some important parts, so I'm trying to button everything up while I wait for those parts. And then hopefully part by part I can get this car ready, and eventually I can get it on the ground. And hopefully, fingers crossed, in a few days, by the weekend, I can take this thing out for its maiden voyage. Oh, hey guys, didn't see you there. No, I'm just kidding. So it's the weekend and my transmission mount finally came in. So I am this close to being able to start up the car and actually drive it, but I was waiting on 2 things: the transmission mount and the intercooler piping. Let me show you these trans mounts real quick. This right here is an excessive manufacturing S13 JZ transmission mount for a W58 and an R154, hence the 2 sets of holes. So I like about this mount is it's highly adjustable. You can just slippity slide everything. This has some wiggle room. These have some wiggle room. And this right here has some wiggle room. So luckily we're gonna be able, I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that that is not gonna work. So here's where Excessive played a smart move, okay? They only make one trans mount for a JZ S13. So this only fits the earlier series W58 R154 style bolts. But on my W58, since it's the newer MK4 W58, it's got this offset mount. The normal one's just like this, and then just the same. So yeah, so that's, you know, this is the newer model because it comes like this. And of course, the 4-bolt pattern is wider. As you can see, this will not sit in these holes. So Excessive Manufacturing, instead of making the right Crossmember for the newer model and the older model, because these are only like 80 bucks a piece, no. They make an adapter mount. This has the old bottom that sits in this mount with the new top. And this right here, I believe is like I think it was like $130 something shipped. So those guys played a smart move on that because they can make more money that way. Look how sunburned I am, by the way, guys. Fucked. We just got this mount in today, so we're gonna strap it to the Crossmember. We're gonna throw it on the car. Okay guys, so we just got the drive shaft back from being made. I got this from my friend Efren at Suspicious Garage. Depending on what type of drive shaft you want, I think the going price for this was around $300. So this is the drive shaft for a W58 to a JZ in an S13 chassis. What I was told is R154 and W58, I think the transmissions are around the same length. So the drive shaft should be around the same length. The only difference is the output shafts are different sizes. The R154 one's thicker, the W58 one's a little wimpier. So this drive shaft right here, if this helps you guys out, I got a measuring tape to it. It looks like it is exactly 51 inches from front to back. Exactly 51 inches. So hopefully this fits under my car because a lot of people run the Excessive Manufacturing mount kit. I only have the Crossmember. The kit I'm running is the Tech 2 JZ kit that I was telling you guys about. So I did look at the price. That kit is actually $1,600 on eBay. So I'll put the link down in the description of the kit. It's a pretty good kit so far. We'll see if the drive shaft fits. The Crossmember looks like it's gonna fit pretty well. Check that out. It's in. We needed all the adjustment we can get. We got this adjusted all the way. We got this adjusted all the way. Man, good thing it has all this adjustment because I almost didn't get it to fit. But we got that in, everything's torqued down. Look how far the drive shaft yoke sticks out. That's just freaking awesome. So I talked to the guy who built it and he said, well, that is a lot, but as long as it's in a little over halfway, you should be good. And I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll send it. So say no more, you don't gotta tell me twice. And it's all bolted up. I don't know if you guys know a lot about my i300. My i300, I've been running a single turbo on a stock ECU with a blow-through MAF setup, and it has been running fine for, I would say, I don't know, 2.5 years. So we're gonna do the same thing on this one. This one has a little bit different MAF. My MAF wire is right here. It used to be over there on the other side, but I kind of unloomed the wire all the way over here. And it's actually really long over here, and I'm not gonna need all that, but what I'm gonna do is just plug the MAF in right there, get it somewhere safe, right? Maybe right there. Now we can put together the intercooler piping. See, I was just able to use one long straight piece going from the turbo outlet to the intercooler inlet. Then this side's a little weird, but I have a 3-inch going to a 3-inch, and then here is my MAF sensor in the boost pipe. I did get the pipe straightened out, thanks to DefWorks for that. So right now this is a 14-inch straight pipe with the MAF directly in the center. It's got a 90 on one side and a 90 on the other side, so that should be good enough to get a good reading. So 90, 14-inch straight, and then I got a 3-inch to a 2.5-inch 90. And then, as you guys can see, I know I don't run blow-off valves, but I think I'm gonna run a blow-off valve. Only because this thing sounds wicked when it surges. So I'm not saying that this blow-off valve is going to be a permanent thing because I hate blow-off valves, but we're going to plumb this all up and then we're going to see how it works and how it sounds and stuff like that. So anyways, I got a 3" to 2.5" inch 90 here, and then I got the blow-off valve straight piece, which is about, I don't know, 8 inches, and then here's another 2.5" to 3" because this is a 3" intercooler. And then yeah, we just have to straighten up all the wires, hide everything, and then we will be pretty much done. And then we're gonna go drive it. And just like that, guys, she's all done. I wanted to make sure to wait to post this video because I did want to make sure that the car did run and drive well before I was putting this on YouTube saying, hey, this is how you do this and this is how you do it, and then have the car not work or something like that. So yeah, I did have to wait a little bit, but the car runs and drives great. I did up the boost in it already. I remember I told you I put an 8-pound spring in it, up the boost. I think I'm at like 10 or something. I might put it up even more. So I'll show you guys what I got going on with the car now that it is finally 100% complete. Okay guys, so I'm just gonna go pretty much over everything what I did, but I'm just gonna do it really quick just in case whoever's still here, thank you for watching. But I'm gonna go over everything real quick just in case you need a quick runaround. Okay, so I swapped to the single turbo because it was hitting the clutch master and the brake booster and stuff like that. I did put an up pipe on it because it was I didn't really want to pay to have a custom down pipe made right now. And I do have a super sick little tractor flap on there. And then, okay, let's go on this side. Yeah, I cut the fender wells out, so it made it really easy to put intercooler piping down there. So that's 2.5" intercooler piping from the turbo to the intercooler. This is a 3" intercooler. If you guys want to know how I mounted it, I put 2 little spacers right here. There's a factory mount point right there. I think it's for the horn. Yeah, it's for the horn. And then I made this little bracket, and then on the bottom, which these brackets are already bent, pulling it in my trailer, I just made brackets going to those little OEM brackets. And intercooler is really stable. It's not going anywhere. Radiator. Radiator was a pain, but as you see, I cut as far as I could into here, all the way until the end. I do have the Mishimoto fans on there. It clears by like 1/2 inch. And then I did have to cut into the lower cross member. I cut into that a pretty hefty amount. You can see right there. I don't know, it's kind of hard to show you how much, but I did cut in the lower cross member. You know, you can look at yours and look at this, and that's how much I cut into it. And then we had to cut the top of the bolt off down there by the tension rod brackets to get the radiator to sit low. We did drill new holes to have those little studs sit. So the radiator is very firmly mounted. We're good there. And then I am running a stock ECU with a MAF on this setup. So I have 2.75 inch, 2.75 inch, and then it goes down to 2.5 so I can run that blow-off valve. And then it goes back to 3. So the reason why I put it right here is because it gets a better reading than it does putting it in front of the turbo. And plus, if you do want to run a blow-off valve, you have problems with the car dying when you let off the gas, or when you come to a stop, the car will die. That's just what I read on the internet if you put it on the turbo. So that's why I put it right here on my Lexus. I've had very good luck putting it here, but I was told the MAF needs to be in the center of at least minimum a 1 foot straight piece of pipe. So this is a 14 inch pipe and it is in the middle, so we're good there. And it has a good reading. The AFRs they're pretty good. I didn't really get too into depth about this throttle cable bracket that I made too. I just kind of extended it, I don't know, a couple inches just to make it work with my my Nissan throttle cable. I do have an aftermarket regulator on here. I will have that in a future video that I will be posting. I did change it out only because I was chasing a fuel problem and I don't think the regulator was a problem, but I changed it anyways. This is a cheapo from eBay. It was like 35 bucks. Yeah, but anyways, it was running like crap, but I did figure out the problem was the fuel tank. I had gunk in there, so I cleaned that out. Anyways, future video. Let's go on the inside real quick. So we did end up putting the switch panel inside of the glove box. I thought that'd be pretty cool. Here's that 3-pin plug I was talking about. One is the starter, and then the other 2 are the 2 relays for the engine computer. So we have all of that, and then I just ran all my battery wires. As you can see on the bottom, I got my main battery coming into my circuit breaker. Then coming out, I have this goes to the starter, and then goes to the main harness for the car that controls the headlights, the radio, the taillights, all that stuff. So basically I have the engine and everything else running on this, and then the car's harness on all that, and eventually the dash will all be running off of the key, hopefully. So I'm gonna pop this glove box out, and behind that is my engine ECU. I'll just show you what's going on there real quick. Clip, and then boom, pull that out. Okay, so I know it's a little sloppy, but I just wanted to drive my car. So you see this 3-prong plug, it goes to, remember that little harness I made? So one plug goes into the ECU, and then here is the other plug, remember, with the coils, the injectors, and then the MAF power, and then the starter. So the thick black one's the starter, you can see that here. So we got that plugged in. And then remember this one for the voltage regulator, pin number 9. So we have that one plugged in. And guys, I'm sorry, I don't really know what these plugs are called, but you will see them. Here's the main harness from your engine, and it all comes in, and then there's the, like I told you, the ones that are directly plugged into the computer. Those are going to be the 2 that power the motor and the 1 that does the trans. And then here's the one that's part of my harness, and then here's the one I told you I didn't plug in, the one with the tack wire on it. So I'm saving it for future. And then, like I said, here are the plugs that I did not use. So I'm just keeping them just in case I want to wire something else in the future, but I just threw those in the glove box. And then just a lot of wires under here. I will organize it eventually. And then here's my interior. It came out really, really good. Got that seat over there, and then I got this one. Shout out to Brandon. Hooked it up on this one. It's not the best looking seat, but it ain't the best looking car. Okay guys, that's just about it on how to 2J swap your S13, and this video pretty much goes for any car. I'm just doing it in the S13. You know, if you can mount it in any car, you can wire it in any car, you can use this video for any car you choose. I want to give a huge shout out to my friend Chris for helping me. Chris helped me a lot on this car. That is, with work-wise, Chris helped me out a lot. And then I also want to give a shout out to Brandon for helping me get the swap kit. All this is, it was his old swap kit. I also want to give a shout out to RJ. Got the switch panel from RJ. Who else I want to shout out? I want to shout out my girlfriend for dealing with me, for working on this car every fucking night. And she's right there. We are officially done with this 2JZ swap, and I really have nothing else to say. I'm sure you guys have questions. Hit me up. Like I said, Garza on Instagram or the YouTube comment section. Hit me up. I'm more active on Instagram. But anyways, this is it, guys. This is how you 2J swap your S13. I'm so glad this is over, and I'm so glad my car drives good, and we are out of here. I'm out. I'll catch you on the next video, guys.